So today I'm going to be going over the top 5 most anticipated cameras of 2023. And of course, this is a biased list. I mean, it's my list, but I'm going to try to make it like an amalgamation of my most anticipated cameras with what I see as the community's most anticipated cameras based upon, just being a part of this community in general, having this channel, and just hearing all the chatter about all the different cameras possibly coming out. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into this list. Number 5 on this list is a medium format camera that is supposed to be coming from Fuji cameras, and it's going to be a medium format camera that we really do not know the name of, and that's why it's on the number 5. But it is a camera that is supposed to be coming out, and it's going to be based towards sports photographers. And I'm personally interested in this camera because, well, I'm interested in a medium format camera that is actually going to be a fast camera and that will be aimed towards sports photography. And if you get a camera with that fast of a readout on a medium format sensor, that will be very interesting. And it should also bode well for the rolling shutter in, say, maybe video as well. And that's what I would be extremely interested in. So personally, I think that Fujifilm has done a really good job with their cameras. So I'll be interested to see what this camera is all about. Number 4 on this list, speaking of fast action photography, is the Sony A9 Mark III. We know very little about this camera as far as like reliable details. We do know that the A9 series is generally focused towards sports and action photographers, and it's generally speaking a very fast camera. We pretty much know that it's going to have a new sensor. It's not going to have the same one as the A9 Mark I and Mark II. What will that sensor be? It's kind of hard to say for sure. Some of the rumors have indicated, and I've wondered myself, if this is going to be the first camera that actually brings that new type of stacked sensor from Sony. The one is supposed to double the light saturation and yet be a stacked sensor. So theoretically speaking, you could have like a 45 megapixel sensor that would have the same low light capabilities as like a 22.5 megapixel sensor. So I think that is a very interesting possibility. Will they actually go that high megapixel with this camera? Will they still stick with, say, like a 24 megapixel sensor but have like the low light of like an A7S III? That will be really cool if they do that. So I'm very interested to see what new technology comes out of this camera. Personally, I doubt it's going to be a camera for me. I think it's going to be more directed towards photographers than videographers. But reading the room, a lot of people are very interested in the A9 Mark III, and I'm also interested to see what Sony has underneath their sleeves. Coming in at number 3 is what I would consider my most anticipated personal camera of the year, and that is the Panasonic S1H Mark II. So we recently had a pretty big breakdown on the specs of this camera. I'm not going to go into all the detail. That being said, it is supposed to have 8K 60, I believe, and it's also going to have downsampled from the 4K. I think it was 120. It was actually going to downsample from that 8K. And if that's true, that's going to be absolutely amazing. But besides the resolution, what really makes me very excited about this camera is that Panasonic finally switched to phase detect autofocus in the S5 Mark II. And while that camera is pretty amazing, I've always thought that Panasonic is a great autofocus away from being the best camera, at least for videographers. And if any camera is actually going to maybe make me abandon Sony, it will actually be this new S1H Mark II. It will have all the bells and whistles and videography modes that Panasonic is known for, and more than likely it's going to have a resolution of 8K, which is just going to be a cherry on top with a fan, so probably no overheating either. Now, will I completely give up on Sony because of this camera and get it? These are tools, so I mean, the A7S III is doing pretty much everything I need it to do, but yeah, I mean, I want a new camera, so we'll see. Coming in at number 2 is the Canon R5 Mark II. So we've also heard some pretty outlandish specs about this camera, but I feel like they've kind of been discredited because, well, I mean, we were supposed to hear about this camera before now and we haven't. But as far as I know, it is supposed to be coming out before the R1. And so it's probably going to be sometime towards the end of 2023 before we hear about this thing. The R1 is not on the list, spoiler warning, because I think the R1 is probably going to be a next year camera. But if this is going to be a this year camera, like an end of this year camera, I suspect it's going to be a really good camera. I know pretty much everybody's anticipating whatever Canon has for the R5 follow-up. The R5 has been a really great camera overall, especially considering where it came from. All the different firmwares that they've had in this, the different updates has really brought it to I think it's probably one of the best overall hybrid cameras on the market today. And I'm really interested to see what Canon does with the R5 Mark II. Now, the crazy speculation out there has been like 8K 60 with oversampled 4K 120, kind of like the Panasonic S1H Mark II. But I really don't buy into that for this camera personally. I think it's a possibility that some of that is true, but I do find the issue being that they're not going to want to cannibalize on their R1 as well as the battery that is in the R5. Well, I just don't think it really has the wattage to actually push out 8K 60 unless they're going to have a completely brand new battery for this thing. The reason I say that is because I have the R5C, which does do 8K 60, but it has to have like an external battery in order to have all the functionality at 8K 60. So you actually won't have your lens and things like that work. You're actually using the wattage that comes out of that original battery. So unless they're doing some voodoo and going to come out with a brand new battery that fits that same form factor, which is possible, I don't foresee them actually putting the 8K 60 in that particular camera. What I can see them doing is kind of doing like the R6 treatment. So having very similar specs to say the R5, but essentially getting rid of all the pain points. So maybe getting a full-size HDMI port in there, getting rid of the wobbling situation, completely getting rid of the overheating and the record limits, and maybe doing some interesting cool stuff with the different formats, maybe adding like an AI chip of their own, improving the autofocus even more. If I had to guess, I kind of think that's the road that they're going to go down. But either way, I'm very interested to see what Canon has to offer, and that's why they're ranking my number 2 spot. Now, coming in at number 1 is the Nikon Z8. So this camera kind of went through a weird cycle. Some people don't even believe this camera exists. Some people are swearing that this camera is coming like tomorrow. But I do believe that this camera does exist. If I had to guess what this camera is, I think it will be very similar to what the Z9 is, essentially just in a smaller form factor body. I think that Nikon has been very aggressive with their cameras, and I really do think that it's going to have almost essentially the same specs as the Z9, but it's going to be in a smaller body. And the way that they're going to be able to justify doing something like that is because they're going to say, well, it is going to have a shorter battery life, so it's not going to have that great pro body battery life, and it's also not going to have that big, strong, durable pro body. So maybe they will have, you know, some quote unquote overheating possibilities, even if it's not a problem in the practical sense. They may cut a few more corners and not make it exactly identical to the Z9. Maybe they'll take out some of the extra fast JPEG features. I'm not exactly sure if they'll cut any corners there, but I do believe that Nikon has been very aggressive, and I think they will continue to be very aggressive. So maybe they'll even add some more firmware updates to the Z9 to make it a little bit better in order to give the Z8 pretty much identical features to what the Z9 is right now. That's what I suspect out of the Z9. I could be completely wrong, but I do expect Nikon to come out swinging, and I'm excited to see what they have to offer. So that is my list of the top 5 most anticipated cameras of possibly 2023. We will see which cameras actually happen and how great my spec predictions are. But drop in the comment section below and let me know, what are your top 5 picks for cameras that are going to be coming out in 2023? Do you agree with my list? Am I completely off? Do you think these cameras are even real? Hit the like button. It really helps out the videos, and consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel, and I would very much appreciate it. And until next time, peace.